Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. I did go ahead and go back a little ways, and I did grab a game between Wesley and Nihal Sarin, taken out of the 2021 Chess.com Speed Chess Championship. And this is just their matchup together. This is game number 27. I'm not sure how many full games they played. I feel like they played like 31, something like that. But you guys know that they start with a blitz and then they go into a bullet portion. So this is one of their bullet games. So, of course, for all my people that are coming from the Philippines, I will say mabuhay to you. Kamusta na aking mga kaibigan? Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking mga video at my YouTube. Appreciate it very much. Yeah, man, anybody who is coming from Kerala or southern southwest India, I will say namaskaram. Namaskaram to you and Nandi for stopping by and taking a look at my stuff. I really appreciate it. And you know my Astros, man, they play tomorrow, bro. We are up 3-2 in the series, so I'm not trying to, curse us or anything, knock on wood, right? We looking pretty good. If we can go ahead and close it out at the house, that'd be A-okay with me. I wouldn't mind it. But yes, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. But if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, homie. So we got the move E4. We got G6. We got D4. Bishop goes to G7. We see knight to C3. And we have the modern defense. And it's just known as the standard line. This is pretty much like one of the most major ways to play. I mean, people literally play this so many different ways. I personally, when I get to this personal position, I go C4. And then you would probably see D6, knight to C3, knight to F6, knight to F3. We're going to get into a King's Indian type of defense. But you guys probably know that when you get in this position, I mean, you got C4s, you got knight to C3s, you got knight to F3, just keeping it flexible over there. You even have some F4s going on, or even just bishop coming to E3. Don't go bishop D3. That's just going to lose the pawn. So nobody goes that. But you guys see what I mean. I mean, it's really, really flexible type situation to go. It just kind of depends on how you want to play, your personal preference. So, like I said, knight goes to C3. We do see the move D6. This is usually pretty useful because, I mean, if you want to put the knight here and you don't play D6 first, you're just inviting E5. And it's kind of like you put your knight there for no reason. So, like, why did I, so usually you see a D6 preventing the move E5. That's the whole point. So we do see bishop to E3. Knight goes to C6. We're just double attacking this pawn on D4. We do see queen to D2. We got E5. Knight G goes to E2. We see knight to F6. We got the move F3. Short castles by black, long castles by white. And I think you guys can see what's going on here. I think a lot of you guys are familiar with when you castle on opposite sides of the board. You're going to be seeing some pawns getting thrown forward. So as you see, white is perfectly ready to go G4, H4, H5. Black is looking at A6, B5, B4. That's really super typical. There are some other possibilities, but generally you're going to see those things occur. And then, we got a little bit of tension in the center of the board. So you might want to do a little something about that. So Nihal Sarin basically says, I want to do the craziest thing possible. And he goes B5. So I think some of you guys might be looking at this like, okay, wait, B5. That's deep. But like, I mean, is it just a pawn? I mean, the crazy thing is it looks strange, but it's just a pawn. Like, if you want to go ahead and take the pawn, which is what we saw in the game, and knight takes B5, and then rook goes over to B8, knight just retreats back to C3. I mean, you just got a pawn, homie. So I will say for black, it does open that B file. So you are, kind of attacking a little bit, but one of the problems in the position is you don't really have all your pieces kind of like in that section. Like usually when you see like maybe like say like a Sicilian and you see like queen to A5, you see the rooks, sliding over type deal. You got, A6, B5 played and you open the thing up. I mean, you kind of have a lot of pressure on this side though. And then you also do usually have like the rook able to sacrifice itself on C3 type stuff. So, I mean, you kind of have a little something going on. You don't really kind of have that here. So, I mean, you're kind of just throwing a pawn away. Now, we have seen Nihal Sarin do this before. I saw one other game in the database versus Alexander Grischuk. So, I mean, he's definitely like familiar with playing this, but, it is what it is. We do see the move A5, and this is the novelty of the game. We got the move D5. This is like the absolute perfect situation to go D5, simply because one of the things that you have to be thinking about, number one, we do have this tension in the center of the board. Another thing that you want to be thinking about is Okay, black has just given up a pawn, and they're basically literally going all in for this attack, right? So they got the A pawn rolling, they got the B file open with the rook. They really want to kind of get the queen over here, right? Well, what else do they want to do? They want to try to get the knight involved. They want to get this bishop involved. If we can start getting some pieces involved, then I mean, we're going to be justifying the pawn. So what does Wesley So do? He says, bro, you're not getting your bishop involved ever, and he goes to move d5. So he closes the position down and makes it to where this bishop is basically ineffective. And that is something that you know, positionally want to be thinking about. If your opponent is trying to attack, he's trying to like get, you know, the pieces, you know, like developed, and he's trying to get the pieces maximized. Like, what can you try to do to prevent that from happening? So this is what Wesley So does, and it's like the absolute perfect situation. You see the bar is really high. I mean, Wesley So is basically just like in the complete driver's seat. We do see the move knight to b4, and I mean, that's not really doing much. I mean, you do have the move a3, which is actually the best move in the position. But Nihal Sarin, or I mean, Wesley So just goes king to b1. Says, man, I'll just move my king over, bro. Like, it's nothing, bro. So we do see knight to h5. And you see what black is trying to do. Like, black is still thinking about this bishop, trying to get it involved in the game. You know, if we can push if we can push f5 and then, you know, make white take here, which, I mean, white is literally never going to do. You know, maybe we can, like, push the pawn forward and start kind of giving up some material to try to get things open. That is what black is hoping for. But Wesley So is like, bro, I don't know if you heard of me, but I'm kind of Malakas, homie. Like, I'm kind of strong, dude. So we do see the knight going down to c1. And you see that, like, Wesley's just kind of playing really carefully. He's making sure he doesn't do nothing drastic. There, I mean, definitely some better, like, moves that he could probably be playing. But he's just trying to make sure, you know, one of the major things you want to make sure when you are up in a position, don't play stupid moves. Like don't blunder stuff. Like, so that's what Wesley So was like, bro, I'm just going to make sure I don't blunder. I'm just going to hold the position good. We do see the move f5. And Wesley So's not worrying about that. He's like, I'm not taking nothing, bro. So we do see pawn taking e4, pawn taking e4. But you see the position is still closed, and that bishop is still not effective on this position. So we do see the move knight to f4. And this is kind of sneaky, man. You know, white is never going to take this knight. Because if you take the knight, automatically you're taken back with a pawn. And I mean, you just, you know, like, you just freed up this bishop. Because what was I just telling you? This bishop wants to get open, right? It wants to, like, start wreaking some type of havoc or something like that, right? If we can capture with the pawn, then, I mean, this bishop is living some type of life. But right now, after knight to f4, Wesley So says, bro, I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to help you, bro. And then we just see the move a3. And then we actually have the move bishop to g4, which is kind of a nice, like, counterattack in the position. Because, I mean, you don't necessarily want to just, you know, give away your rook because it's a pretty strong piece. So we do see rook going over to c1. You can also go rook to e1. I mean, it was never an issue. And then we actually see the move king over to h8. And we have reached actually a pretty critical position right here. So if you do want to pause the video and see what's the best move that white should play in this position, go ahead and do so. All right, man. So you know what? I think a lot of you guys, and you should be doing this. A lot of you guys are thinking, like, can I take the knight? Like, is there something wrong with it? You always want to be questioning that when you are thinking about taking a piece with a pawn, like especially when you're on the side of the board, right? Because like if you take and they take, your knight gets displaced. Like maybe, I mean, you know, maybe if black can start, you know, muster an attack, maybe you've like screwed yourself, right? Or even when you're on the black side, like wherever you're at, like a lot of times when you're on the side of the board and you're thinking about capturing into the position with the pawn on a piece, you got to make sure that you're doing your calculation to make sure there's nothing that the opponent can do. In this position, there actually is nothing that the opponent can do. It's absolutely perfectly fine. It's the absolute best move to go pawn takes a4. And so if you guess pawn takes b4 and you're trying to live on the wild side, you would be absolutely correct. I mean, it's just a piece. You know, king to h8 wasn't ideal. But I mean, Wesley So is not, you know, like this. Actually, it's interesting. It was not what Wesley So played in the game. But he could have played it in the game. I'm sure he considered it for sure. But after you take on b4, the pawn takes b4, you got knight down to a2, you got rook to a8, but then you just have knight taking b4. And I mean, this bishop is going to be coming out. You can always go c3 to make sure your king has a little bit of luft. You know, this queen actually can't even infiltrate. You can't go queen to c8 and then go down here because the knight and the bishop both control. You can't go queen to b8 and then go down here because this bishop is controlling. So it's like black literally has no way to attack you, you know, even though you got this open a file, right? So this would be one of the exceptions on that situation. But going back in the position, after we saw the move king to h8, we actually saw Wesley So just play just a more logical move or like a less calculating type of move, and just knight takes a5. I mean, you just take another pawn. The knight is still suspect. The one thing I will say about Sarin in this exact position is he does recognize what he needs to play in this position, and by far the best move is the move c5. You know, he is trying to, you know, protect this knight a little bit, but he's also attacking this knight right here. So, I mean, you definitely have a few options if you're white. You know, Wesley so just says, I'm just going to go ahead and retreat. So, basically, he's grabbing pieces, just retreating. And, I mean, things are opened up, but, I mean, you're not really able to attack that well if you're black. That's the theme. So, we do see queen to d7, but the problem is this actually traps the bishop, queen to d7. I'm not sure if it was a misclick or, I mean, he was trying to put it somewhere else, but he just blocked his bishop. So, we got h3, bishop to h5, and then we have g4. And Wesley's like, bro, you know what? I got both your pieces on pre. Absolutely able to be taken. And, I mean, you know, you're not really attacking me, bro. I mean, I'm just good to go. The queen can't really come in and do anything. So you're like, you don't have nothing, bro. So the rook does go to a8. We just see pawn taking h5. Knight taking h5. We got the move bishop to b5. And this is the final piece for white. You know, white is basically saying, man, I mean, my bishop was literally chilling on that same square the entire game. Now it's out with some oomph. You know, punching you in the face. So the queen does slide over to e7. We see pawn taking b4 now. Pawn taking b4, and then the knight does go to a4, which might look kind of risky a little bit. But after the rook f goes to b8, we see queen taking b4, which might look kind of weird because you're like, okay, I mean, that's kind of pinning my bishop, right? After we see queen go to b7, we actually see the most perfect move in the position, and that is c4. I mean, there were other moves, but I mean, this was definitely, you know, like a possibility too. It just basically just ties everything up. I mean, this is super protected, and you're just up so much material right here. Like, this is the position that Nihal Sarin does resign the game. So I don't think I have to go any further. You know, you have 5 pieces for black, and you have actually 7 pieces. Let me see, what is it? 3, 6, that's 7 pieces, bro. So you're up 2 entire pieces in this position. And 3, what is that? A pawn? Nah. I don't got to go further. You guys know. Nobody wants to play this position if you're black. So, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. And for those of you that might be wondering, I did make a couple of changes to my YouTube. It might look like some videos are missing, and that's because there are. So I just decided to like kind of change up the way that I'm doing some things. So, yeah, I got some more chess coming your way. So I appreciate you guys very much, and I'll see you guys next time.